So, you've got the big ships in Star Citizen. Now how do we dock them to a station? Docking is something that most Star Citizen players haven't really come across too much with the hangar bays and landing pads. But when you've got ships of the size of the Hammerhead or the 890 Jump, docking to stations is something that you're going to have to do every time you return to base. The process of docking isn't straightforward and can be a bit of a challenge to get your head round. So I thought I'd make a quick video to point out the things that you need to look for and how to dock within about 3-4 minutes when arriving at a station. So let's get into it. So here we are. We're at a station and you've requested landing. First thing you'll notice is a big circle on your screen and a beeping noise in the background. That beeping will get annoying and it will continue and it will get louder, so you're going to have to edit your settings or just get used to it. You will also see 3 red dots on your screen, one on the centre line, one on the horizontal line and one on the perimeter of the circle. This is showing you your alignment and your positioning to the docking collar. The bit you really need to watch out for at this stage as you're moving toward the station and looking for the docking strut is your coordinates. You'll see on the centre line of that circle you've got a y-axis. That is your pitch and your elevation, so that'll tell you when your pitch and your height is right to be lined up to the docking collar. You've then got a z and an x-axis. The x-axis is your horizontal positioning and your z-axis is your distance to target. So the z-axis is telling you how close you are and the x-axis is showing how far sideways you need to move in order to be lined up to the station. So here you're seeing I'm manoeuvring around, basically trying to bring, at this stage I'm bringing the y-axis and the x-axis down to as close to 0 as I can to make myself know that I've got the pitch correct and I've got my horizontal location correct approximately for the docking. The z-axis is your forward and backwards positioning, so it will tell me how close I am to the docking strut, so I'm not so worried about that one at this stage. I'm simply moving around trying to find where the x-axis is towards 0 and the y-axis is towards 0. That says to me that my elevation is right, my horizontal positioning is right, and then I just need to move forward. You'll notice as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep the red dots green as much as I can. It's not overly important at this stage, but that just says that I'm pointing in the right direction and that my roll is correct. So you've got 3 dots, one is on the vertical line and one is on the horizontal line, and then there's one off to the right hand side of the circle, which is your roll. Keeping those dots in the centre in green where possible and as close to that roll axis as possible at this stage is good, because it means that you're at the right orientation in order to find the docking strut. Finding the strut can be a bit of a challenge because you'll notice there isn't the marker that you usually get when landing in a bay. However, what you can see is that little red square, and that red square, I'm not really sure what it's showing me, but I assume it's something to do with the docking clamps, because the docking clamps, when you notice when I do dock in a little while, that will turn green, which shows those docking clamps engaging. So it's given me a rough idea of where to look and where I need to be. So now I'm having a look on the external view to see if I can see that docking strut. As I'm moving closer to the station, I'm beginning to get an idea where it might be. In short, it's pretty much directly ahead of me. I'm slightly drifting off my horizontal axis, but as I move closer, I will see that docking strut almost just ahead. So you'll notice I've now lowered my speed limiter, so I'm going at a much slower pace, much more controlled pace, because the last thing you want to be doing at this point in the docking procedure is boosting toward the station at speed. So now you could just see that docking strut coming into view, and at the moment the docking strut is pretty much on my centre circle. You'll see it come into view in a moment by an orange light to the left hand quadrant of that circle. At this stage I'm making sure that my alignment is correct, so I'm keeping those dots green and really focusing on doing that, and really doing some fine tuning to make sure that I'm as close as I can as possible. For some reason my shield started overheating here, so you'll notice in a moment I will turn my shields off, and and then turn them back on again in order to clear that error, because that is nice and conveniently right in the way of my y-axis, so I'm struggling to see quite where I need to be. I'm still moving forward here, nice and slowly, only about 6 or 7 meters a second, so it's not too quick. But now you can see quite clearly 2 orange lights in that left-hand quadrant. Now that is the docking bay, that is the docking collar. That will become the airlock between the ship and the station once I get a bit closer.
So now we're about 200 metres out.
Really not far from the station now, so we're getting close to docking. And those alarms will start to get louder and more consistent. Really thinking of those as your parking sensors. The more solid and loud they are, the closer and more aligned you are. So now you can see the red doors of the airlock really clearly. You've got a good idea. On the hammerhead, the airlock's pretty much above the cockpit, so I know that I'm pretty central where I need to be. At this stage, you can hold N, which will auto-dock you. Makes things a little bit easier. But for this video, I'm docking manually. Engaging docking clamps. And you notice that red square getting bigger and green. And we're docked.
Landing complete. Have a pleasant stay.
It's following the axis, listening to the noise, and moving forward once you get near the station at a controllable speed so you're not ploughing into the side of it. After a few practices, it will be second nature.